good? Thank you. Okay, we'll begin the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare meeting this evening at 7:03 p.m. Present are committee members Williamson and Glassburn, council members Heeman, Lindbergh, and Scarrow, our mayor, law director, human resources director, safety director, and guests. On the agenda for tonight's meeting was 2022-19, which deals with the school resource officer. The administration has requested that we hold that particular piece in committee. So we will go ahead and continue with 2022-20, which is a resolution authorizing the mayor to purchase 4 new Ford Explorer utility vehicles through the state purchase program, and further authorizing the mayor to execute all purchase agreements and declaring an emergency. Director Schofield?
Yes. Thank you, Chairwoman, members of the committee, and other members of council, the mayor, and other distinguished guests. 2022-20 is a pretty straightforward piece of legislation to authorize the purchase of these 4 vehicles for the police department. This is making up for a little bit of ground they've held back the last couple of years due to COVID and other uncertainties. So this year we're going with 4 for essentially cruisers and then 1 for the bureau, the detective bureau. So these are well over 10 years old now at this point. They've got a lot of miles on them. Even fleet maintenance in the service department is like pushing a little close, and they're usually very, very good at getting us as far as we can on these vehicles. But the other factor for these, in addition to their age and number of miles, are what they're called engine hours. As you might imagine, police vehicles sit and idle for long periods of time, and that also wears heavy on the vehicle. So these, again, this is legislation to purchase these 4 vehicles as a fairly regular course of business for the police division.
Thank you.
Don't take any questions.
Thank you, Director. So you said the current vehicles are 10 years old?
Or more.
Or
Yeah,
more.
some of them are pushing 12
Okay.
because we haven't, we kind of cut back on the purchasing over the last couple of years.
Right. And then I see that there's one vehicle that looks like maybe it's just a few $100 more than the other 3. Is there something on that vehicle that's different from the others? Or?
Well, there's 3 cruisers and 1 undercover
Okay, got it.
vehicle.
Okay, great. And then how soon were these going to be purchased, do you know?
Well, we can start the process as soon as we get the green light to go ahead and do that.
Okay.
They're in the budget
Great.
for this coming year, or for this year.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Mr. Glassburn.
So during our budget season last year, Director, we had heard there was need for an extra vehicle. Does these 4 vehicles take care of the need that was held back while we were awaiting budget last year, or are we still 1 short?
To the committee member through the chair, this makes up for it, so this would complete the purchases. So this brings us up to speed.
So, Madam Chair, would we be expecting to purchase on a regular basis 3 in the future or 4? Annually?
I would think it would be back to 3.
Okay.
I think again, this 4th one is just trying to make up for some lost ground. But I know that normally it's 2 to 3 vehicles a year.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So last year we bought 2?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? Mr. Sproul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The ones that are going to be retired out of the police department, where are they going to go? Sell them, or do we put them in another department here?
Go ahead. You just answered.
Thank you. They are often recycled and donated more often than not to the building division. So they give those recycled vehicles.
Thank you.
Did they remove all the high-powered things from those vehicles before.
Yes, except for some of them, if you see them out front here, they still have those big darts on the front, but all the other bells and whistles generally are gone.
Okay, any further questions? All right, seeing none, then I'll make a motion to recommend 2022-2012. Council ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Glassbern, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 2-0, and the meeting concludes at 7:08 p.m.
Can you check? Yes.
Oh, do you have to?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And I will make another motion to hold 2022-19 in committee until the administration feels it's time to bring it out. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Seconded by Councilman Glassbern, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes with the 2-0, meeting concludes at 7:09, and thank you, Mr. Lundberg.
Proud of myself that I remembered it after.
Thank you. I wasn't thinking.
I was gonna be rude and interrupt, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, it's not worth it. If I'm wrong, I'm throw you off your game.
I should have just done the vote before, like when I said it, but I wasn't.
I'd like to start the Building and Zoning Development meeting on the 8th of March, 2022 at 7:10 p.m. Present are committee members Limpert, Beeman, and Williamson. Council members Scarl, Glassburn, and the mayor, the law director, safety service director, and guests. HR director. And guests. On the agenda is Resolution 2022-21, 2022-22, and 2022-23. 2022-21 is a resolution extending the temporary outdoor patio dining area program until December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency. And would somebody like the administration of this, or Ms. Keenan?
Go ahead, Mayor. Thank you. This was brought forward through council, unfortunately, because of the pandemic that we have all been experiencing over the past few years. And this is simply asking council to extend the outdoor patio dining area program through the end of this year. So the current one that we have in place runs until the end of June. Obviously, we're all optimistic that that we won't be back where we were last year, wearing masks or having our restaurants and other businesses experience hardships because of the pandemic. But we thought that it would be prudent to come to council and ask for you to extend that just through the end of this year, so that once again, if we do in the fall experience a resurgence, that the city would be able to then quickly turn and allow for our restaurants to be able to still bring customers in a safe way. So, and Councilwoman Heeman as a co-sponsor.
Yeah, may I?
Yes,
Thank you. So this was something that has had 4 extensions already, because it just seems to be prudent to allow businesses to do this. For some businesses that had no outdoor space, but were prohibited from having, because they were maybe abutted a sidewalk and then the parking lot, right? They've been able to put out, maybe 2 chairs, a little bistro table kind of thing. And I think that by extending it through the end of December, I think is helpful for folks that don't wholly feel comfortable, because, in my business environment all day, I wear a mask because of the number of people that are generally in that place, right? So I think that there's gonna be a mixture of people wanting masks and people not wanting, and this could provide a more safer dining experience for those folks that might be reluctant still. And I would like to see the extension go forward, and then perhaps after that, maybe we could visit something of a permanent scenario for some of those other businesses that were not able to have outdoor dining, that now have added to their customer base because of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heeman. And my question actually was going along that line. What negative concerns have we received so far around this, either from other tenants that don't have dining, or from residents related to this? Has there been any kind of feedback of concern or challenges that we've had to overcome because of it?
Councilman, we've not experienced any negative comments from residents or other businesses, but I will tell you, especially regarding the next 2 pieces of legislation for your consideration, we've actually had requests to continue the program through the end of the year, the mall being one who has requested that, because it's sort of this unforeseen, what does the future hold? And they're concerned, and I think they want to have some flexibility in order to operate should the fall bring another wave, so to speak. And so I mean, as far as I guess you would say, going back to your question, a negative thing, I think that, like the Councilwoman alluded to, perhaps towards the end of this year, we should work with council to figure out, okay, what is the new operating procedure here? Should we just continue extending these types of things, or should we seriously look at the code and decide that, do we need to make a permanent change?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Councilwoman Heeman or the mayor, is there anything that would preclude us from extending this into next year already, like doing it now, and then working on the code? Like if we extended it to perhaps maybe the end of June next year? If our businesses are benefiting from this now, we already know that everyone's still trying to recover from the last 2 years. And if this is a tool to help them kind of recoup some of their monies, maybe we can just keep it going to allow them to keep generating, cash flow into the businesses, and God forbid something happens again, we're already ready for it. And then in the process, we can start maybe looking at something perhaps maybe more permanent in nature.
I mean, I'm open to that.
Yeah, my thought would be, Mayor, to I think we've extended this on a number of occasions. I don't think we're gonna have an issue extending it again. But I would think we want to change the focus, sort of what Ms. Williams said. I don't know if we want to necessarily want to extend it all the way out to next year, but we should be extending it through this year with the intent to drive to a decision from residents and business owners of, should we make this permanent and work towards permanent legislation if there's no, hindrances or pushback to do that. But I think we should be prudent in the extensions, and 9 months is plenty of time to extend it to work towards those conversations, I would think. Would you agree, Mayor?
Yes, I think that was sort of the thought behind the date of, you know, the end of this year, was sort of that gives us opportunity to give that leeway to our restaurants, and then also allows us to work with you to decide, you know, what's the game plan moving forward, so.
I see.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to perhaps consider maybe this extension being through the end of April. And the reason that now I'm thinking about that is because that would take us through all of the cold season, right? And then, you know, a holiday, like an Easter brunch kind of thing for some of those restaurants. Part of the reason behind my thinking that now is these businesses have invested in patio heaters, you know, acrylic, you know, panels for their outdoor bar areas. They've kind of made an investment, right, for the cold weather. So maybe to take them all the way through to the cold weather, and then we'll be ready in spring to perhaps evaluate the correct procedures for something more permanent for some of the outdoor dining. And I don't really know how anyone else feels about that, but that might be my suggestion now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I'm in favor of an extension.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm fine with that. I think the goal would be though to actually, before it expires, have something in place and not see how it goes by the end of March. Like, I think over the next, you know, several months, we'll be able to get feedback, see how, you know, it's operating in a more open, in-depth environment, hopefully. And then in the fall, like, we can start, you know, the legislative process, I guess. See if we can finalize it, have it known and implemented, so we don't have to just keep extending it. I think it's been fine and prudent that we've done that, but at this point, I think we probably should make a call one way or the other and work with that. But yeah, I'm okay just extending it to March 30th. I mean, Mayor, is that something that you feel comfortable amending that to, or to change it, moving the target 3 months further?
Yes, that's fine, that could be amended.
Mr. Chair, I think Ms. Heeman had mentioned perhaps the end of April
Oh.
because of Easter.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
Yeah,
it.
April 30th, makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2022-21, with an amendment to extend it through April of 2023. And, the intent of that is to be able to determine whether this would be a more permanent piece of legislation. Ask for a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Next on the agenda is resolution 2022-22, which is a resolution establishing a policy to allow for temporary places of business in the city of North Olmsted and declaring an emergency. And Mayor, are you gonna take this one?
Thank you. Yeah, so 22 is allowing for the temporary places of business. So what we have seen, where this has been utilized is mostly the mall area. For example, when there was the pop-up COVID testing location, that was there, that was under, was able to utilize that space under this ordinance. The mall last year had approached the city, and through council, this ordinance was put forward because the mall was sort of expecting, I think, to have some perhaps some farmers markets or things like that happen. None of that did happen last year, but they did approach us at the beginning of I think it was February, and they asked if we would consider extending this so that they could have the opportunity to once again go back out and see if they could draw some additional revenue in through, you know, through something like a farmer's market. Which hopefully, because we're trending in the right direction, that will go well for them. So this would be, again, the current legislation as it sits in front of you is asking through December of this year, and open to suggestions on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm very much in favor of this particular piece of legislation and will be co-sponsoring it because I think the mall sometimes just doesn't know what to do anymore, right? With what do they do? They did have a meat vendor that actually ended up to be not as attractive looking as those successful, I think. So I think with given more time and more thought behind it, their presentation of these pop-up businesses and like everybody's got a little bit more skin in the game and to make it a lot nicer. So I do think it's a very good idea.
I had a question. This is talking about outside of the buildings. We have temporary places for inside commercial properties that can pop up and run for a short period of time, and that's separate from this resolution, right? This is just extending that out to outside commercial properties.
I think the scope's a little different, correct, than this original one, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be given temporary occupancy even internally. I'm sure that would be handled in the building department with how they would typically, because these are built out spaces that are, you're referring to the mall, not familiar with the tenant that was at the mall. But I'm sure that for temporary occupancy, that's always an option. In North Homestead, for instance, we see the famous Halloween Spirit Store is a temporary occupancy. They show up, they're there, then they leave 3 days later. So I'm sure perhaps it's being processed through that particular program, which is always available, as opposed to this one. I'm just not sure. But there certainly is a needs to accommodate that at Leonard Rises.
And then again, Mayor, I guess my only question was, and I think you answered this before, but we haven't heard concerns from residents or other tenants within those properties, or we really haven't had a chance because they haven't taken advantage of this very often.
Correct. And again, I mean, this is obviously, living in Northeast Ohio, we're not expecting a lot of these types of businesses to pop up, between now and, maybe April, but probably April through even October, And so, this might be also something for council to consider, in the future, like if we wanted to make something like this a little bit more permanent, then that might be a consideration that you think about is, if we were going to do something like that, should it be bound by certain times of the year, or maybe not, maybe a Christmas tree farm is fine, but that's up to you.
Just one other question. So, Mr. Guerrero, this, like food trucks is a completely separate thing than this too, right? So
We used to prohibit the food trucks.
Right.
It was probably about 5 years ago when we eliminated that to allow them. So.
And that's separate from this. Okay. Ms. Healy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that this will give the mall an opportunity to plan events, right? To plan an outdoor pop-up event that, could include some dining, but just really, I think, when I look at this, if you look at like some of the small, like these people that are on Etsy and all of that, right? Well, where do they go? They go nowhere. So it might be an opportunity for local artists, local vendors, and some of that stuff where in the past we've only offered them, our events in the park over the summer, where now the mall might now be able to organize something like that for them as well, and have like a, monthly or bi-monthly, bi-weekly, whatever sort of event to showcase. So, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I clearly think we've extended this a number of times. I think I was a little surprised to hear how little it's been used yet, but I'm thinking maybe we keep this one as currently written through the end of the year, and then that also is a little extra motivation to get legislation in place for when the weather comes. So.
And people are gonna utilize that in December.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, that's my thought. Yeah. So at this time, I'd like to take a motion to, any questions from council? At this time, I'd like to take a motion to recommend resolution 2022-22. Ask for a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. And last on the agenda is resolution 2022-23, which is a resolution extending policy of temporary signs in non-residential districts in the city of North Olmsted declaring emergency. Mayor?
And so this is the third piece of legislation that kind of travels with the same thought of 21 and 22, which is allowing for temporary signs in our business district. And this was considered and then allowed by council because of the pandemic and because of the challenges of trying to bring people in and have them shop here in North Olmsted. So we thought that it would be smart to have this travel along with these other pieces of legislation, consider them pandemic related, and ask for council's consideration in order to, again, just have this piece of legislation allow for it to go through December 31st of this year.
Just a quick question on this. I've seen a few temporary signs that have been being put out, and they're being put out into the tree lawn area on Lorraine Road. This isn't allowing that to happen, is it? I mean, it's still within other parameters of the code of where they can put those signs, right?
Mr. Chairman? Yeah, we don't allow the placement of temporary signage in the right of way. This was to expand permitted temporary signage in the business district to allow additional, larger, more signage to accommodate the hardship of the economic crisis. So if we don't allow them in the right of way, there's a place that's prohibited. Even in this section.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This one is Councilman Glassburn, I found out was hugely popular. When we went door to door telling people about this new temporary sign code, they really, really liked it. So, I am very much in favor of that as well, this piece as well.
Well, yeah, and I would think anybody that would be a business would be excited about being able to put more signs out. I guess I would ask again on this, we should review. This one's a little bit stickier than the other ones because it's, so I think we should really challenge that though to see what did we go too far or is there some opportunity to amend the sign code based on how this progresses? Like do we have some opportunities to provide more leeway or not during that time, is my thought. Or we should start to come to an idea when would be the time to no longer allow them, I guess. Yeah, unless there obviously is a change in the pandemic.
Mr. Chairman, just know, we do allow temporary signage, it's just the additional temporary signage, so it's still gonna be permitted in the district even if this expires. Under the current code. Yeah, it's just the volume, size, things like that.
Well, and this might mean if we can see over the next 9 months the steady state of signage, and is that feeling overwhelming or not, maybe we should adjust our number because it wasn't as overwhelming as we were worried about.
Pay attention.
Yeah, I'll be watching signs apparently, as well as pedestrians. Okay, are we fine with December 31st for this then as well? At this time, I have a question for council. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2022-23 and for a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. And I will conclude the building and zone development meeting at 7:32.
Okay, that will begin the finance committee meeting at 7:32. Present are committee members Glassburn, Lippert, and Williamson, as well as Council President Broussard, Councilperson Keeman and Scarl, as well as the mayor, law director, HR director, safety director, service director, possibly soon recreation director, and guests.
Big fun there, right?
The item on the agenda for tonight is 2021-78 MX Hero. Who wants to be a hero?
Tonight's hero is Chuck Massarola.
I can start. Unfortunately, Eric, our IT administrator, wasn't able to make it tonight. This has been previously brought before council. Council has had a discussion on this in the past. Basically, to recap, this will migrate all of our email and mailbox databases to the cloud. It's a part of the Box.com contract, or it works in conjunction with Box.com, which has already been approved by council. This will take the Barracuda email archive appliance and put it on Box.com and sandbox everything. So it will allow us, like right now, we cannot get a lot of attachments. If you send certain attachments to the city, like a Word document, the email's being rejected. This will allow the email to be accepted, and the file will be able to be opened up securely online. So one of our employees can open up that file, and if it's infected, it will not infect our server. It won't infect our systems, and it allows us to be able to start accepting more email attachments than what we've been able to accept recently. It would be a 36-month service agreement. Payments would be spread out annually at a cost of $19,500. And there would be a one-time flat fee of $6,000 to handle all the migration. That's the basics of the program.
So, Mr. Massarella, the permit or the ongoing cost is the $19,000?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any questions from committee? Any questions from council? Okay. Sorry. How long is
It's a 36-month contract. And it's my understanding is that it's annually at the cost of, it's spread out annually at the cost of $19,000. So I believe it's the $19,500 each year is what that cost is for that contract.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, then I will move to favorably recommend 2021-78 and ask for a second. Seconded by Mr. Limpert. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. It's 3-0, and that will end finance at 7:35. Fastest finance ever.
Did anyone else think that agenda said Mr. Gabriel? Disappointed it wasn't Mr. Gabriel.
What the?
Did you understand?
I think that was mostly a Parma thing.
I know. The Parma group's back
Your
here.
road, so out there and get yourself a chair right here in our building.
I think you're coming down.
Whatever you're ready.
I'm ready to roll, folks.
We're recording.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I would like to call the Intra-Governmental Control Committee to order at 7:36 p.m. Present are committee members, Keenan and Scarl. We have our council president, Broussard, council members, Glassburn, Lippert, Williamson, our mayor, law director, human resource director, safety director, service director, and Candy, recreation director. And I would like to introduce our candidate is Tim Pinchuk.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Is our candidate that the mayor has put forward for us to interview and consider. Mayor, would you like to introduce your?
I would. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I bring to you tonight Tim Pinchuk for the position of Director of Recreation and Public Engagement. Tim brings to the city of North Homestead 18 years of progressively responsible experience as a Director of Recreation. He is currently the Director of Recreation for the city of Avon Lake, where he has served for 6 years, and has previously worked as the Director of Recreation for the city of Fairview Park and as the Executive Director of the North Royalton Family YMCA, a branch of the YMCA of Greater Cleveland. We are very excited to have you interview Tim tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Pinchuk, I would like to thank you for coming here and putting your resume in. It's very impressive. I'd like to commend you on your number of certifications.
Oh,
I don't think I've seen so many. And what one of the things I wanted to point out to make sure that we did not miss this piece in particular is that not only is the director position for recreation, but also public engagement. Okay, we have not really had that as a director before. And one of the things that I did want to note in particular into the record is the fact that all of the directors in place now, and then including you, should you join the group this evening, are somewhat already cross-trained. Okay, so we have directors now that don't work in vacuums any longer, just on their specific piece, but they actually can interact with each other and understand each other's positions, and then are citywide as well as then outreach beyond our city limits for other things. So I did want to point that out in particular because that is something that is broadly represented in your resume and your credentials. And I think it's a very important piece. If there's anything that you would like to tell us before we begin, any kind of questions?
I mean, I'll stand. You guys can't see me, so.
Thank you very much for letting me come tonight and talk to you, introduce myself. You guys get to know me. Mayor stole my thunder as far as like I was just going to do my quick little elevator speech, but I'll do a little bit more. I started my career in 2000 in the city of Fairview Park. When I arrived on the job on January 1st, 2000, I had a pencil on my desk. That was it. There was nothing else. I had a budget of $300,000. 12 years later when I left, we had a 93,000 square foot recreation center, oversaw park projects of Bolton Park renovation, a new spray ground at Morton Park, as well as increased staff of 10 full-time, about 150 to 160 part-time people on a regular basis, and budget of $3.5 million. So when I left Fairview Park, I went to the Greater Cleveland YMCA, as the mayor had mentioned, and I oversaw the finished construction of the YMCA in North Royalton with Branster Carroll, and started from scratch again, developing the budget, working with developing the staff, job descriptions, board members, recruiting members, and then also at the same time overseeing the Ridgewood YMCA, which was in Parma. While I was there for the 4 years, I also oversaw risk management for 6 counties of the Greater Cleveland YMCA and all the facilities that were associated with that. Corporate America hit. I was out of a job. They just went cheaper, younger, 2-month severance, eligible for rehire. Landed on my feet in the city of Avon Lake. Great town, great city. Transformed an old movie theater into a gymnasium because we don't have the luxury of having our own facilities in Avon Lake. So partnered with the local business, transformed this historic building into a high school sized gymnasium, state-of-the-art equipment, so for our recreation needs. I'm currently overseeing a $750,000 park playground improvement plan. It's called ELPS, Avon Lake Play Space at Blesser Park, as well as an ODNR $500,000 grant that we were able to receive for a fish cleaning station. So looking at different objects or opportunities, I should say, in Avon Lake as far as facilities, recreation centers, all those things. What attracted me to this job was the mayor's vision. When I saw that, just as you mentioned, that this job was going to be comprised of not just recreation, but from the diversion program, which I worked with the Fairview Park Police Department and allowed those youth to clean our parks and clean graffiti and pretty much babysat, really, I'm not going to lie, a lot of the times. Food pantry, we did that in North Royalton and Ridgewood at the YMCA, as well as, I myself was on food stamps when I was a kid and stuff like that, so I can appreciate what that does for the community. The golf course, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I don't have experience running a golf course. It's not on my resume, but I have experience in turf management. So Bolton Park behind Westgate Mall, when I came onto the job in 2000, it was with Branster, Carroll, and Zofke, and Bernie Zofke was an architect on their staff who has since passed at that, a few years later. We redesigned that the ball fields and the park back there, put in our own ball fields, our own drainage, so I do have experience with that. I did hire a groundskeeper from Gale's Nursery, who had 25 years experience with the Cleveland Browns Municipal Stadium. And he's still there today. So I do have the knowledge of turf management, working with staff, working with unions, working with maintenance folks as well, because we had union folks as well in our recreation center. So You know, and then finally, the recreation center. Obviously, I've experienced from the ground up building a recreation center. You know, I'm currently, just today was at the City of Brooklyn working with one of my former staff, Jack Abruzzi, who's now the recreation director out there. Jack's a great guy. He wanted me to come out to help him with some thoughts and ideas because they're putting together a feasibility study of what they're going to do with their ice rink. Because quite honestly, they cater to the outside in Brooklyn. There's only a 2% population that actually in Brooklyn uses the ice. And so their revenue stream is all from outside rentals. Is that better served for the community, or should they do something else, maybe a gym or something like that? I know we have a big gymnastics program here. If I was fortunate to get this job, when I was at the Gemini Center, we had a multi-purpose gym that we did tumbling and gymnastics, you name it, wrestling mats on the ceiling that, you know, that came down. I've pretty much seen a lot of everything that is out there, to be honest with you. My passion is building relationships, not only within the city, but outside the city, with staff and businesses. I didn't see a sponsorship program in North Olmsted with the recreation department. That's something that we just raised $40,000 last year of mom and pop businesses in Avon Lake. You know, so I'm rolling out this week as we speak, actually tomorrow. So, you know, so that's just little things. You know, I've already started looking. You know, I'm really excited about the opportunity if you guys will have me. I'm ready and willing and able, and I'll answer any questions you guys have this time.
Thank you so very much. I am very particularly interested in your YMCA experience.
Okay.
Because the YMCA is a very old organization.
It is.
And, you know, they actually preceded community rec centers.
Absolutely.
That is what they did.
Absolutely.
You know, I did gymnastics there, I was on the swim team at the Y. Did they do fundraising as well? I mean, how did they fund everything that they do?
It's all donations, fundraising. You know, so when I inherited the Ridgewood YMCA, the operations, I inherited their board. So I don't know if you guys know, but as a board member of a YMCA, you have to pay money to be on the board. So I mean, that's part of their board membership. So it's $150 or more. And then you have to recruit more and more and more, and you have to have the facilities to back that up. Well, at Ridgewood, we really didn't have that. It was an aging facility. It's no longer there. As a matter of fact, they've since had torn it down. But with North Royalton, which was the new kid on the block that was only a couple miles away, you know, recruiting board members was a lot easier. You know, but it was also technique and strategy, because you not only had to recruit them, but you had to ask for money for people you don't even know. And we had a board when I was there, about 15 to 18 board members, very active, very strong. You know, they gave back to the community. The YMCA is all about community. You know, it's all about programs that they provide. I was sat on something called, it was with the North Royalton schools, which I think the partnership with the schools is vital to this role. Everywhere I've been, you know, we work hand in hand with facilities and programs, and not to mention interdepartment. And I'm sorry, I don't know who everybody is, but you know, we're going to be working hand in hand, especially public service, or whoever public service is.
Let me introduce you to Mr. Cronin in the corner.
So yeah, I mean, my position, my department can't function without you guys. So I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. And the YMCA was no different. You know, we had to partner with the local communities, and Mayor Stefanik in North Royalton was a close friend of mine at the time, just getting to know him in the YMCA there. You know, it's just a great place to be. You know, not to mention the diversity that's there. Without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt. And I got to meet so many interesting, lifelong friends at the YMCA, and it was a great experience. You know, unfortunately, it just didn't work out, you know, because of budgets.
Well, that's how they're funded. I
That's
mean,
right.
It's not, you know.
That's right.
They have the money that they have, or they don't have money.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Are there any, Mr. Scott from?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Mr. Pinchek, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate your interest in this position. Just by your opening statement, you probably answered about 5 of my questions already, so I really want to go in there. But there is one that
Sure.
you probably already, I'm sure this is going to be what you do, but when you took over Fairview, you were the rec there.
Yes, sir.
There was no facility.
It was not.
Okay, you built one, it's beautiful.
Right.
You had Avon Lake, no facility, you made the gym out of
Right.
the old theater. Our rec center is an aging facility.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Springvale, it's an aging facility, but it's been remodeled, it's been brought up to some things. The senior center, aging, has had some improvements, but there's a lot more that needs to be done over there. In your experience, how will you fare with trying to get these up to snuff, all of our properties that you're gonna
Great
be
question.
involved with?
Great question. The advantage is you already have facilities. You don't have to go to the voters. You don't have to, knock on doors and say, hey, we need these facilities. Now you just need to make them better. So you have to evaluate the facilities first and foremost. You have to evaluate the staff that's running them secondly. You have to evaluate what the community wants. Do we want everything that's offered today? Is everything offered today the best that it can be? And if not, why isn't it? And getting your staff input, I'm a true believer of, like, I'm only as good as the team around me. Whether it's my own staff or the city staff, we're a team. We have to work together. So going through the evaluation process and finding out what works, what doesn't work, and making those decisions, some of them could be hard, down the road. Some of them may not be, so it's getting the community input after that as well, seeing what the community wants. And I'm just throwing out stuff, because I have not been in the facilities in a while.
Right.
But I know the architects, Jeff Grusenmeyer and Jason Gallatin. We built the Gemini Center. I know Jeff is here in the city of Avon Lake. I just was with Jason today at the feasibility study in Brooklyn. So looking at the facilities, how is the community best served with the facilities that you have, and what can you do to make it better? Perception is key when it comes to opportunity, because you only get one chance to make a great impression. And me coming in new, fresh ideas, I'm gonna be able to take a look at everything that's out there and to get the staff's input, to get your input, to get the mayor's vision, and try to place that into the appropriate place where we need to go.
Thank you. Could I have another follow-up, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I've been here like most of my life, 46 years, and it's real important for me to see our youth and our seniors thrive here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the youth has dropped off here for being involved with the community. And I think our seniors, I know COVID has really, shut them down, but now that we're coming out of this pandemic, I'd like to see, our seniors more involved with a lot of any activity we could give them. I know we just started the lunch program back up and
right.
some other things. When I took the tour over there a couple weeks ago, it's really nice to see that we do have something, and how can we engage more of them? That's
absolutely
the food pantry. We have to feed the
Yep.
needy. That's great. So golf. I'm always looking to see how much revenue we can bring in,
Right.
weddings, whatever.
Right.
The golf does well on its own. So
Right.
if you just can engage in the youth and the seniors and things like that, some of your ideas, and I'm sure you got a lot of great ones.
If
Bring
I may,
Thank you.
currently, in Avon Lake, we have it's called the Old Firehouse. It's an old community center. It was meant to serve as basic community center for the youth, really. But we didn't have a senior center, and this predates me. This was like 15, 20 years ago. And so we converted it into a senior center with community usage in the evenings. Being very creative, we've offered our first senior prom. We had 100 people, king and queen. We had a DJ, they danced. It was under the sea theme. It was at the facility that we turned in from a theater into a gymnasium. The Mind Challenge is something that keeps the seniors on their toes. It's a Northeast Ohio group or competitions like Jeopardy, kind of like you go to the bar and play all these things, but it's for seniors. So it only took second. I'm just bragging, but there's 52 teams this year. So it's going on currently as we speak. So for seniors, Parkinson's, MS classes, Silver Sneakers, Renew Active, all those things that we currently have, but you also want to get the seniors, not just in the senior center, but you want to get them out into the rec. You want to do those things. And as far as the youth, I'm a state certified baseball official. I have been for years, and I'm fortunate that you guys aren't allowed to ask this question, but I have a beautiful blended family of 6 kids and 17 all the way to 32. And I have 3 boys, and my wife has 2 boys and a daughter. And I try to spend as much time with them out in the community. So we all got state certified. Well, they got state certified, joined me, and we do baseball games and stuff like that. So being able to watch the leagues that you represent, to actually see what the coaches are doing, to see what the teams, that's an important piece as well. And I would jump into this as well to do that. But also, looking at the trends. You know, recreation's all about beg, borrowing, and steal and making it your own. You know what I mean? Just because something might not work in Fairview, it may work great in North Olmsted because it might just be a different community. It might just be a different aspect of what you're gonna do. Keeping the staff up to date on education and current trends and, you know, getting them involved and making them own, you know, what they're doing, take ownership in it, it goes a long way, you know, as a team dynamic and building. So, you know, anything we can do I'm all about building stuff. I'm all about building programs. My old office manager, she's not old, she just retired, but my office manager who was with me for my 6 years here, and I'm all about open communication, come and scream at me if you want to, whatever. She actually, like the first couple months I was there, she closed my door, looked at me, she's like, Tim, you're killing us. She's like, take the foot off the gas. Come on, you're killing us. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, but since then our department has grown dramatically in Avon Lake. And everywhere I've been, that's the key. Find out what the community wants, grow your programs, and just give them what they want.
Thank you.
Sure.
So,
Did you have hands up equally at the same time? Mr. Broussard, did you have anything you wanted to add before?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Seaman. And I'm glad you mentioned that in your comments. I was looking at the resume and I didn't see a lot of interaction with schools.
Oh,
And
vital.
that's just an observation. I've got 8, 6, and 4-year-olds,
Okay.
so I'm getting into the wheelhouse and
Yes,
really
you are.
seeing what those development programs look like. And I'm glad Mr. Roden's here. He's on the school board.
Okay.
But it's I think it's very critical that we collaborate with the
Absolutely.
schools for kind of joint programs and feeder programs.
Can I jump in real quick? So in Fairview, that was the whole goal. You know, like I had lunch or breakfast with the AD like once a week. You know, he actually turned out to be a mentor of mine. He lives in Bayville. He brings that ice camp in. We tried to create a feeder system, involve all the high school coaches, the middle school coaches in all our programs, do summer camps and, you know, whatever, skills and drills and all those things in Fairview, and it was very successful. When I went to Avon Lake, the football program at Avon Lake is huge. You know, Avon Lake is a football city, and we developed a slogan that went all the way down to rec. It's from flags to Friday night. You know, and the football coaches, they come, we actually have them do a combine, you know, in the fall, and it sounds more serious than it is, but it gets the football coaches involved. You know, I can tell you where our football coaches went to school, where they went to college, what they did in college, you know, because we meet regular basis, the baseball coaches, the softball coaches, all those things, because it's important. It's not just about schools. It's not just about the city. It's about the community, and you got to get everybody involved. So I am huge when it comes to partnering with the schools. I would welcome the opportunity to come to the school board, you know, and talk to the school board members, introduce myself, and tell them exactly what we want to do here if it's not already being done.
Yeah, and I think that's critical because we've got new school facilities now, and we have good rec programs that cover the gambit, and finding ways to collaborate to be more efficient and also maximize those resources for the residents that just see it as one paycheck out of their property taxes, right? So to them, it's all the same, and they may not be wrong if we're not operating that way. That I think we fight that too often in the city, that to say that we're different budgets. Well, ultimately we're one community, so I'm excited to hear that.
Not even the schools, just the schools, but the library system as well. We have great programs with the library that we have in Avon Lake. We do a big event every year. It's called Blue by the Woods. We sell out 2,000 tickets in 5 hours. And, you know, it's story time in the woods. It's a Halloween event. We have food trucks. We have all these different things, but it's on library property. It's on the Metro Parks property. It's the school's help, the city. I mean, it's a big event just for Avon Lake. I mean, those are the type of things, you know, just off the top of my head, you know, that we can brainstorm and we can do here in North Olmsted. I grew up in Fairview Park, so North Olmsted was my stomping ground, and went to Fairview High School. You know, I live in Olmsted Falls, so I would be a bulldog at night and an eagle during the day. So my son is going to be, he's a junior, he plays football, so I gotta support. Sure.
Ms. Williamson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know this meeting is recorded, so
Yes.
your old office mate or your
She
old coworker
will not take
just might
offense.
see
She will
this.
not take offense, I promise you. She's amazing, so.
You can replay it. All my questions have been answered, but I really am impressed by your resume. Just having you here speaking, I can see that you have everything that the mayor has been looking for to expand on our programs and move our city forward. And I actually really look forward to working with you.
Thank you. I look forward to working with all you
Thank you.
if I'm allowed.
Mr. Glassman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were three things I wanted to either flag or ask you about. The first, which is the biggest kind of recreation infrastructure immediate problem we have is our pool.
Yes.
Our pool and our ice rink have been in bad shape. We've been able to scrape together funds to take care of the ice rink, but our pool is on the is kind of the next thing up. That's not really a question as much as just to tell
Sure.
you. Second thing is we do have the President Groden from the school board here tonight. They currently have a plan to consolidate our 6 elementaries into one.
Okay.
And so those are all in neighborhood locations right now, and the future of those properties are certainly something that the city would have some role in and potentially recreational role.
Outstanding.
And then my third item, which is actually a question, is I see on your resume that you're in your Bulldog capacity, you're a member of the Joint Olmsted Recreational District, and I, for the life of me, have never understood why North Olmsted and Olmsted Falls don't do anything recreationally together, and do you think there are opportunities to do so?
I do think so in the future. So I am part of the Joint Homestead Recreation District. I'm one of the founding members. So that's a volunteer position. I was chosen based on my experience and all those good things and living in the community. And right now we're in the infancy stages where Olmsted Falls and Olmsted Township are trying to get the bylaws together. We're trying to create like a unified front for 44138. Let's just call it that. There's no rec department per se in Olmsted Falls, Olmsted Township. There's a community center that offers a lot of great programs and such. In the future, absolutely. I'd absolutely see partnering. Everywhere I've been, we partner with different cities. In Avon Lake, we partner with Sheffield and Avon and Bay and North Olmsted. I was one of the founding members of the Little Southwest Conference Football League when I was in Fairview Park. So now that I'm at Avon Lake, if I'm successful and I come here, it's like the full gamut, so that'd be great. But it's an opportunity that you shouldn't look past because it only helps the community that you're in work with the other communities, offers more competition, it offers more opportunity to get more kids on the field, whatever area that is, and not even just on sports, but also into fine arts and those types of things. So we just developed the Avon Lake Fine Arts Camp last year, first time ever. We used the Performing Arts Center. It was a 2-week session. Kids did song and dance and all and stuff like that. It started off with 20 kids, it ended with 50. Our camps that we started 6 years ago, they started off with 20 kids. Now we're at full capacity, 60 kids. They're different themes each week, and they're certified teachers that do all the instructions and those things. So it's not all about sports, it's not all about just North Olmsted. We open those things up to surrounding cities as well because it's a great social piece as well. Because not just for North Olmsted kids that meet North Olmsted kids, but it's also North Olmsted that meet two surrounding cities. Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? We're all signing up to be on the and we're willing to pay?
Public engagement.
That's right.
I think that we don't have
Good.
anything else for you.
Okay.
Thank you so very
Sure.
much, I appreciate it. And we will be having a special council meeting to vote on
Is it tonight?
position.
Can I stay?
Absolutely. You're the star, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I would like to make a motion to recommend Timothy Pinchuk to be, I haven't done this intergovernmental in a while. I'd like to recommend the appointment of Timothy Pinchuk to the Director of Recreation and Public Engagement, and ask for a second.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 2-0, and I'd like to conclude my meeting at 8:02 p.m.